Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Colin.
Shabbat Shalom, Cantor Breitzer. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is really nice to see you. It's so strange to be here in this place, and it feels great to be here in this place that is different than where we often are on a Friday night. The first thing we would love to do is to invite you to make sure that everybody here knows someone, which means just looking around you, turning around, even maybe if you're able to, crossing over an aisle to wish somebody a Shabbat Shalom and introduce yourselves.
Shabbat Shalom, Alice. There's a density of people over here. I feel like you might want to sing this melody with me, maybe? Let's try it. Sing it with me.
Light these Shabbat candles. We have a really wonderful simcha that's taking place tomorrow. Nathan Milks is becoming bar mitzvah, and he and his family are here this evening. So we want to invite them all forward. Come on all up here. You are bringing so much light to this community tomorrow morning. And we're so glad that we can just taste a bit of a corner of it here with you tonight as you come to light these Shabbat candles.
You can find the blessing on page 120 in your prayer book. These books open from right to left. If you have two numbers in the lower right corner, look at the number in brackets. In the lower right corner, page 120. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Mazel tov. So excited for you. You can all make your way back to your seats, and we continue now on page 128. Page 128. Yedid nefesh avarachaman, Yedid nefesh avarachaman, Meshocha Again, that's page 128. These books open from right to left. If you have a version with 2 numbers in the lower right, you can look at the number in brackets. This is the middle of page 128. Yedi nefesh avarachaman, Yedi nefesh avarachaman, Meshok avdecha, Eretz onecha, Meshok avdecha, Eretz onecha, Yarutz avdecha, Kemo ayal, Yishtachave, El mul hadarecha, Yarutz avdecha, Yarutz avdecha, Kemo ayal, Yishtachave, El mul hadarecha, El mul hadarecha, El mul hadarecha. 2 more times. El mul hadarecha, El mul hadarecha.
Welcome. Welcome if you are here physically in this space. Welcome if you are joining us from any virtual platform. Welcome if you're here to see your little boy speak tonight. I know your mom's watching. Very excited. Really, really glad to be here in this holy space. We're spread out. We're more spread out than we usually are, which is okay. But if at any point you feel like you'd love to be cozier, you can move in, you can move up, you can find your way here and make this space as warm as we know that it is tonight. After a week like this one, it is really good to be together here. We need Shabbat. We need some permission to let go, to relax, to free our minds and our hearts from all of the tension that we've been holding this week as the news has come our way, as tragedy, as chaos, and to find ourselves right here with the chance to breathe and to be together in community. And tonight, we know one of the most beautiful things we'll do tonight, besides just being together on this Shabbat, is that it is also Disability Awareness, Acceptance, and Inclusion Shabbat. So if you didn't know that, you are so lucky to have found your way here on this particular night. It's one of the reasons why we are here in this sanctuary right now, because even though generally we pray Friday nights in the chapel, this is our most accessible prayer space. And that's why we're here tonight. We're going to hear later this evening, we're going to hear the voices of our members telling their stories, helping us learn and listen and grow together into the community that we already are. But before we get to that moment, let's just bask for a moment in knowing that we are surrounded here in a place that is by design tonight meant to be for everyone as best we can. That you and I and we are in a place tonight that is trying to open our arms as wide as we can and open our eyes as wide as we can and open our hearts as wide as we can. That tonight we are praying in Technicolor, all in. And just to feel the joy that flows through us when we just try to do that, when we just lean towards that and remember that we can do that and how holy that is. Yesterday was the first day of the month of Shvat. And in the month of Shvat is Tu B'Shvat, which is the New Year of the Trees. And that's not now, that's in a couple of weeks. But the New Year of the Trees in this month, and so this month is about the flowing of the sap in the trees. That's what happens on Tu B'Shvat. Even when it's cold out, even the winter, maybe not right here in Brooklyn, but that is what we're marking, that the sap begins to flow through the trees. So as we get ready to let Shabbat in and to really relax into it and find ourselves here physically and fully, see what you could do with your body right now to open it up a little bit, to see if you can let the sweetness, the sap of life flow through you. What does it feel like to release your jaw or your back or your shoulders? You can roll your shoulders if you need to. You can wiggle your head or whatever part of your body needs to be wiggled right now. And take a deep breath in. What does it feel like to have sweetness and joy and rest and prayer and song and love able to flow through you freely, and not trying to shut it off so that, we can just go about our day and fulfill our to-do list, but just to be here, be open, and remember that our flow connects us to your flow and your flow, such that we are like a tree of Shvat, beginning to wake up, beginning to be alivened again, beginning to see ourselves and remember here on Shabbat what we're meant to remember, that each of us is created in the image of God, beautiful, whole, just exactly as we are meant to be. And so if you have this prayer book, as Cantor Breitzer just shared with us, if this is a new book for you to be using, just to know how to use it, on the right-hand side, you'll find the Hebrew prayers that we'll be praying through, also translation and also transliteration, so you don't need to know Hebrew to participate and lift your voice here. And on the left-hand side of the page, you'll find modern poetry, or just ways into the prayers to help us know what it is we're trying to say. You can find yourself following along with us, or you can make your own journey tonight. We'll invite you to stand or sit, but we'll also invite you to do what your body needs you to do. And so you can't do anything wrong here in this space. Just by being here, you've already succeeded. I know we're not supposed to talk about success on Shabbat, but whatever that means here, you've already done it. You're here. We want to tell you that in the back, there are things like, if you need, there are Braille copies of Mishkan Tefillah, this prayer book, in the back. Looking for Mary Beth right there on the right. There are fidgets, there are readers, there are all kinds of things that help our bodies access prayer. And so if you'd like to find any of those things, you can get up whenever you need to do that. And now we settle into the Psalms of Shabbat that help carry us into holy time. Page 130. L'chu neranena.
L'chu neranena. Tzorishenu nekadem afanav betoda bizmirot nariyalo alarayaya alarayaya. Here we go. A little louder. Sounding good. Ya la la. Ay ay la la la. Again. Ya la la ya ya. La la ya ya. Ya la la ya ya ya. 8. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת בלי תהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. בחרוני לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לחרוני לקראת כלה, בני שבת. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שידברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך, לך. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת. Verse 8. ימין ושמאל, ימין ושמאל, תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי, על יד איש ובן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Verse 9. בואי בשלום עטרה בהלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך, לך דודי. Come on, CB. Again, 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 again. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Verse 144, page 144. Please remain standing if you're able. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר בתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בירמה, ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed. Please be seated. We read together the bottom of page 148 in English together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Amari Baravim. 150. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shofeinu u'vekumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu v'hem neged yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. 154. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Page 158. This is a call and response melody from Michamocha. I'll sing a line, then you sing it back. Michamocha Ba'elim Adonai Mikamocha Nedar B'Kodesh. Beautiful. Nora Tehilot Oseh So nice to hear your voices. Malechutecha Ra'u Vanecha Bokei Hayam Lifnei Moshe uMiriam Zeili Anu ve'ameru Adonai yimlok le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar ki v'ada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
In a moment, we'll turn to page 160 for Hashkivenu, our prayer where we ask for protection, that a Sukkot Shalom, a canopy of peace, might be above the heads of all who feel vulnerable on this night. Perhaps tonight we'll include in our prayers, in the midst of this ceasefire, all of the hostages who are waiting to see maybe if they will make their way home, that there might be a canopy of peace over their heads. All Palestinians and Israelis who are praying that this ceasefire will hold all the way through, that this will be the end of a terror that they never asked for. And tonight we will pray also for all of the refugees and asylum seekers in our country who maybe felt safer 2 weeks ago than they feel tonight. And we'll pray that they are safe and whole, that their families feel safe and whole, and that they are released from fear. And then we'll move into our prayer for healing, and we'll invite the names of those who you're thinking about, who maybe they're struggling, maybe they're sick, maybe their body isn't working the way they want it to, maybe they're struggling with an illness. And we'll pray for their healing, that they are whole again. And as they make their way back to a refuah shlema, a full healing, that they know that they're not alone. And so we'll remind ourselves through prayer to reach out and to walk with those in our lives who are suffering in some way. In the midst of that prayer, we'll invite the names that you're thinking of. And if you're joining us virtually, we invite you to place the names into the platform that you're on. And we'll turn now to page 160 for Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu, sukat shalomecha, v'takenenu, be'etza tova milfanecha. והושיענו למען שמך והגן בדנו והסר מעלינו אויב דבר וחרב ורעה ויגון והרחק ממנו עוון והפשע ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו כי אל שומרנו ומצילנו אתה כי אל חנון ורחום אתה ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם מעתה ועד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Page 371. מי שברך אבותינו בכל הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We invite the names of your loved ones forth.
pray together. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen. If you know of a CBE member that is in need of support, please share that with the cantor or myself after this service so that we can reach out to them and give them the care that they need. Thank you. We'll turn now to Vishamru is on page 162, and that will lead us into our silent Amidah, which will be pages 164 through 181. And for now, though, we're on Vishamru 162. We invite you to rise if you are able.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי ימין עשה אדוני את השבת
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
I'm so grateful that we have all gathered here tonight. First, just because we all, I think, quite need Shabbat this week, but also to honor this evening as Disability Awareness, Acceptance, and Inclusion Shabbat. So what is that? And what are we doing here tonight? Tonight we will hear in their own words the experiences that many of our members have had as they meet this world with some kind of disability, with some way in which the world, society, and even CBE was not built for their ease. So I'm using the word their and they, but I think that one of the most powerful things that we will find tonight is that it's very much not about a they. And in fact, it is very much about a we. And here's what I mean by that, as best told by our Torah portion this week, Parshat Bo. So we're in this story in which our people are enslaved in Mitzrayim, in ancient Egypt. And Moses, instructed by God, goes to Pharaoh and says, "Let my people go to worship our God, a 3-day journey from here. That's all I'm asking." And Pharaoh asks, "V'mi ha'holchim?" And who are the ones that will go? The commentator Or HaChaim teaches that in this moment, Pharaoh is actually asking a rhetorical question. It had not occurred to him that all of them would go. He had naturally assumed that only adult males would participate in the worship experience, and everybody else would be left behind. Oh, Pharaoh. We empathize with your assumption, Pharaoh, because it's exactly the kind of assumption that many of us make all the time. That public space, that worship, that gatherings and ritual and community are meant mainly to serve a majority identity. In this case, adult males. And in the case of general society, the most able-bodied or neurotypical among us are the assumed participants around whom these experiences will be built. Pharaoh made an assumption about who worship was for. But Moses offers Pharaoh a corrective that is utterly beautiful on this night. He says, "Bin arenu uvizkenenu nelech. Nelech ki chag Adonai lanu." Pharaoh, we will all go. From our young ones to our elders, we will all of us go. For it is a celebration for our God. In Torah, what Moses does here, we call a merism, M-E-R-I-S-M, a merism. I know you wanted to know that, so now you know that. And it means that when he says from our young to our old, it's like saying from A to Z, and meaning and everything in between. From one edge of our community to the other, nelech. Every one of us will go. We are simply not whole and cannot continue our journey if worship, if spiritual life is built only for a few of us. And when we imagine ways for including everyone, what happens? Chag l'Adonai lanu, the text says. It becomes a celebration that is holy for us all, lanu. We know well, though, that this is not generally what happens. In many spaces, including in this community, we often defer to able-bodied and neurotypical assumptions. But over the past months and even years, several different teams of people have been working to make our community more accessible for all people, because we are committed to a Mosaic worldview, not a pharaonic worldview. Pharaonic worldview. To Moses's nelech, and not Pharaoh's assumption that community is only for a certain category of ability. So tonight, we will hear many voices, because for spiritual life to unfold, we'll all need to go together, all included none left behind. So many of us have obstacles before us, whether it's physical or emotional, visible or invisible, temporary or permanent, new to us or has always been. So we're going to take our time to listen and begin to understand these contours of our community together. We're not in a rush tonight, so we thank you now for your patience and attention. One quick story before we hear from our community. Last year, Cantor Breitzer and I had the honor of leading several B'nai Mitzvah services together for neurodiverse young people. In these spaces, we make it clear that whatever the young person needs can happen. We can take a break, they can get up, walk around, have some quiet, all great. So in the middle of one service, at the end of some prayer, one bar mitzvah boy raised his hand because he had something to say. He wanted to tell everyone that it is unkind to bully people for who they are, that he's experienced this in his life, and he doesn't want it to happen to anyone else. When he finished, we resumed the service. His might have been the most important word spoken that afternoon. But here's the thing. It's not what he did or needed that was extraordinary. It was that for 1 hour, we lived in his world instead of asking him to conform to a neurotypical world. And it was beautiful. And nothing broke. And we were all elevated. And there was relief and joy and beauty. So one question I'm holding on to is this. How do we keep expanding the world that we live in so that we are all conforming ourselves less just to be part of spiritual or social life? How do we let the multitude of lived experiences shape who we are? That will be our task. We will make many mistakes. We will fall short many times. It will be a journey, sometimes a very long one. But in the learning and in the listening, we will find our way. So let's. I'm going to invite forward now our first speaker, and then I'll invite the rest as they come, and we'll share with you some of the words of this beautiful community. It's my honor to invite forward Orit Jacoby Carroll. Did I say your name right? Did I say your name? Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm just going to open something in case I need it. Hi, my name is Orit. My family has been members here at CBE for many years. My son Joel, who is 18 now, has Fragile X syndrome, which is a genetic disorder that carries a multitude of diagnoses that come within that, but it's essentially a pervasive developmental disorder. So he's been in a self-contained special education setting, and still is, for his entire education. And we've had a wonderful early experience here when he was a baby, because he could access the programming that was available for little kids at the time. But as it became clear that he would not be able to participate in the ECC and summer camp and started down our diagnoses and educational journey, we sort of lost our way here at CBE a little bit. He has two younger brothers. I have 3 sons. And as they got older and they were able to participate in the preschool here and in summer camp and other experiences, we kind of found our way back a little bit into the community at CBE, made many friends, started participating in Yachad and things like that, and started looking at how to re-engage with Joel. It was really a struggle because he really cannot participate in any of the schooling settings that were available to him. He's not here with me tonight because this is a very difficult setting for him. And it's much less so than it was a decade ago or 15 years ago, really, which is what we were talking about. So he never participated in Yachad, but as our younger sons were, we started feeling like we were not setting a good example for them. and the investment that they were making in their own B'nai Mitzvah journey by not addressing that same need for our oldest child. And yet, we didn't really see a pathway to make that happen. So we started talking to the clergy and asking questions, and over many years, found a pathway to an alternative bar mitzvah experience for him. And like I said, we really did it for our younger sons to set an example of the importance of the experience to our family and to kind of acknowledge the major effort they were putting into their own studies and feeling like we needed to make sure that that was a family experience and not something that we were skipping for Joel. And in the end, even though that's why we did it, it was much more meaningful than we ever expected. And we were kind of overwhelmed and moved with the experience we had as a family celebrating this alternative bar mitzvah. And I started talking to people about it and going, this shouldn't be so hard. As a parent of a child with special needs, you are their advocate for schooling. You work all day getting them the educational setting they need. You have to advocate, advocate, advocate all the time. And it's one more burden. You know, it's a joy because we want to do it, but it's a burden. And it's a burden that we don't always have the energy for. And I started feeling very strongly that the pathway should be clearer, so that it's not so much a question and it's not so much on the parents to find the pathway. It should be a little more laid out in front of them. And that, for me, slowly over time morphed into participation in a committee of parents. I think it was called Special Needs Families, and we've changed the name about 10 times as we've tried to get more and more inclusive and follow the language shifts in the community and how we talk about diversity and special needs and inclusion. And it's grown from a couple of parents with kids who have developmental disabilities to I think you're going to hear from a lot of people on the committee. Yachad has become much more neurodiversity supported, and there's some other inclusion efforts going on as well. So that has become really my mission at CBE, even though my last kid is getting ready to go through his bar mitzvah experience and my kids are grown. But I just feel very strongly that CBE's job in this community is to say 1,000 times a day in every setting possible, on the website, every time we meet somebody, that this is available, this is easy, we'll roll out the path for you and you don't have to find your own way until everybody feels like they have access to what they need here.
Yasher Koach is a good thing to shout out at that point. Yasher Koach. And I'll invite forward David Augustus Ball.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. This is an accomplishment. May it please the court. I'm a lawyer by profession. My life has involved the use of my hands and my voice in speaking and advocating. I have to admit I was very good in both. Not only in English, but in other languages. I worked for a number of years in the Middle East and was able to speak, write, and address people in French, Spanish, Arabic, and a number of other languages. And then one day I woke up, literally, picked up a pen to sign a check, and I couldn't because my hand started shaking. And my hand started shaking so badly that it couldn't hit the paper. So I panicked. What do you do? My mother said to me, "You know what? You're too nervous." She said, "You need to relax. You need a vacation. Come home, it'll get better." Anyway, I came back to Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn boy, grew up in Brighton Beach. My grandfather was a Holocaust survivor. We're strong people. I came back. She said to me, "Why is your voice cracking?" I always had a very strong voice. Anyway, the trembling got worse. And it got to a point where I, as a lawyer, could no longer effectively work to my satisfaction. I couldn't go before people, before courts. I couldn't stand in front of audiences because I was ashamed. Think Katharine Hepburn. She was the most famous person who suffered from the affliction I have. I was diagnosed with essential tremors 15 years ago. Why is it called essential tremors? Because it's part of the essence of your being. It comes from your heredity. They asked my mother and brother to come in, and both of them have it. My mother has it less severe than I do. My brother hardly has it at all. My grandmother, may she rest in peace, Zichrona Labrocha, she died in 1997. She had it to some degree, but I never thought that it would come to me when it did. And it basically ended my career. It led people to misinterpret my voice cracking, trembling, my hand trembling, as nervousness, as timidity, as cowardice, as lack of conviction in what I was arguing. So I was prescribed medication. The problem is there is no medication for essential tremors. They have loads of pills, but they're all for other things. I don't have hypertension, but the number one medication is propranolol, which is one of the oldest high blood pressure medications on the market. You start taking it, and then it stops working, and your hands start shaking again. And you're sitting in a meeting with clients and you can't write. You can't take notes. You can't sign your name. There was a point I went to a bank to open an account, and I could not sign my name. I was appearing before a court on behalf of an autistic child and had to apologize to the court because my voice was cracking so badly that I wanted the judge to realize it wasn't because my case was weak, it was because I had a medical problem. So the medications keep getting increased. Anti-epilepsy medications, I don't have epilepsy. Anti-hypertension, I don't have hypertension. Clonazepam, it's an anti-anxiety medication. They come up with a cocktail to keep you so that your hands, look at that. It's a miracle. It's true. Da. lifnei mi ata omed, know who you're standing in front of. Yes, but look, this was not possible. It comes and goes. And you look at me. My friend here, I came in today and he said to me, "You're speaking? Why? What? Why?" It's hidden, it's invisible, but the problem with this is someone like me, a public speaker, a litigator, someone who is out in the world. This to me made me feel invisible. And I have to tell you, and I'm not going to make a whole Megillah here, I'll just tell you, you all have made me feel loved and included and important and not forgotten and part of life, because there was a time when I was ready just to say, just forget about it. Just sit back and live the rest of your life doing nothing. But come on, I'm 62. I don't feel like I'm 62. I still feel like I'm a kid. I still have a whole lifetime ahead of me. I want to go to Israel. I want to live in Israel. There are so many dreams that I have, but there is this thing. And let me tell you, and this will be the last sentence, people do judge you. I've heard it, I've seen it, and I've felt it. You have not. Thank you. God bless you. A good Shabbos.
Thank you, David. Beautiful. Yasher Koach. I'll invite forward Keshi Taryan Kiel. Do you need your piece?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course, that's right. It starts there and it goes to the top.
Okay. Hello, my name is Keshi Taryan Kegel. I have been a member of the synagogue for almost a year, approximately. I live with a disability called familial dysautonomia, FD for short. It is a Jewish genetic disability that affects my sensory and autonomic nervous systems. Only approximately 300 people in the world have it. So there are certain things that don't happen automatically for me that do for the average person. I don't produce tears. I don't feel pain or temperature as well as many do. And my blood pressure is quite erratic, uncontrollable. 1 minute it can be high, next low. Usually when it's high, there have been times when it's high when that indicates I'm unwell, sick. When it's low, I have trouble walking and standing for long periods of time. Snacking helps with that. And yeah, there was this one time years ago, back in high school, when I'm a big theater kid, big theater person. I'm not a kid anymore, but. And I was a member of my school's theater group. We were rehearsing for the yearly play. And I must have not eaten much that day. I don't quite remember, but it was during rehearsals and I passed out. The director was really, really lovely. I mean, I think I remember him saying that I could go home if I needed to. I didn't. Nothing was going to keep me from rehearsals. So I had a snack and I was fine. But this is like one example of a low blood pressure instance. So I am lucky that my case of FD is not as severe as it is for many others in the FD community. On the other hand, it's not as noticeable, so I do need to speak up for myself more often than not. If I'm on the subway during rush hour and there are no seats available, I have to be able to speak up and ask for a seat, or else no one's going to ask if I need one. All of this to say, each day has its challenges and struggles, but as for many, I'm sure, many people, you find ways to continue living as best as you can and doing what you want to do in life, even if you deal with sad struggles. And yeah, I'm lucky and thank you.
Yashikach, beautiful. I'll invite forward now Stephen Rose.
Do you need your piece?
I have to go. Hi, friends. I want to thank my wife, Kathy, Judy's mom, for writing what I'm going to read. Judy herself is currently at a respite camp in New Jersey, returning Tuesday. Our daughter, Julia, who uses a power wheelchair and a speaking device, has lived in Park Slope for all of her 28 years. Living among Park Slope residents has been a gratifying and wonderful experience. We find people to be helpful and considerate when we need assistance, accommodations, or just neighborliness. The buildings and terrain of Park Slope are a different story. The neighborhood was built before accessibility became a consideration. Stairs, narrow doorways, small stores, tree pits, and difficult curb cuts are just some example of the physical challenges in the slope. But great neighbors can help solve problems. Store owners opened non-automatic doors for our daughter. A restaurant built a ramp out of shipping pallets so our daughter could navigate their 4-inch step in her power wheelchair. When that disappeared, they found a cutting board. Our co-op included a lift when they renovated their lobby, as they recognized many people needed or would eventually need accessibility. CBE is committed to keeping the elevator to the sanctuary and rotunda in good repair. There are also special people outside of Park Slope. Julia's bat mitzvah, which took place in our prior shul in Manhattan, is a prime example. It took a team and was a bit different, but she had a very meaningful experience. Her speaking device was wired into the speaker system so she could be heard. A shul member read the Torah on her behalf wearing a purple shirt because purple is her favorite color. Julia wrote a short paragraph on her speaking device about the reading. Her parsha was about Esau and Jacob, and in conclusion, she said it was the mother's fault. Julia's Hebrew school teacher found a friend to record the blessings in Hebrew into her device, which she activated at the proper time. Her grandmother presented her with a talit. Before her Torah reading, Julia carried the Torah around the shul on her wheelchair tray secured with a bungee cord. Her disability certainly alters and challenges how she meets the world, but also has enhanced and enriched our lives.
Yasher Koch, Stephen. I'll invite forward Lauren Rosenblum.
Ooh, that light is blinding, I've never realized. Hi, my name is Lauren. My family and I joined CBE about 2013, so my son could go to preschool and Hebrew school and do the whole thing, and then you find out your son has a disability and things don't go quite the way you expected. So this is our story, or part of our story, really my story. Of all the sermons I have seen, two stick with me the most. The first is when Rabbi Timoner pointed out that there are as many ways to be Jewish as there are Jewish people in the world. So that's 15.7 million ways to be Jewish. A number my son reminded me of today. And when I think of this, I am reminded of the adage about autistic people. When you have met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. Approximately, they believe, 1% of the world population is autistic. That boils down to 20,000 ways to be autistic and Jewish in New York City alone. Clearly, we like math. The other sermon I remember is the one Rabbi Timoner gave after October 7th, in which she implores us to keep our mezuzah on our doors. She wrote in the New York Times, "Please do not stop living as proud Jews." But how do I live as a proud parent of an autistic child? I don't get to choose whether or not to put the equivalent of an autistic mezuzah on my door. Assimilation is not an option. And we shouldn't have to assimilate. As a Jewish mother, I can tell you my son is perfect, just the way he is. My challenges usually have nothing to do with him, or no more than any parent of a teen, and everything to do with breaking down barriers for him, advocating, as Arit said. I remember trying to be part of the CBE community in his early years. Indoor events were too loud. Outdoor events were too chaotic. Smaller Shabbat dinners were awkward because my son preferred to play alone. We began to be excluded because, as I've since been told, it was assumed we didn't want to be part of the community. But that wasn't true. We just needed to be part of a community in a different way, and we didn't have a model for how that would look. When planning my son's bar mitzvah with these experiences in mind, we discussed doing an event outside of Brooklyn. But we had come to love CBE. This was our community, even if it was sometimes imperfect. We belonged here, even if we sometimes felt like we didn't quite fit in here. Through the help of Cantor Breitzer, Rabbi Colin, the Yachad team, and the incredibly supportive family with whom we shared the service, we had a remarkable Jewish bar mitzvah. I often think that being Jewish in 21st century Park Slope is a negotiation over a set of archaic rules. But the folks at CBE offered to break every rule to ensure not only that my son succeeded, but that we all felt included. Every rule within reason. It's still a synagogue. I don't have the words to describe how transformative my son's autistic Jewish bar mitzvah was. My son stood right here in front of our congregation as his authentic self, and he was met with joy. For me, the height of inclusion is being led by my autistic son in Jewish prayer during Saturday morning Shabbat services. It's watching our congregation listen to his unique Devor Torah with openness. It's watching them observe his whole self with anticipation rather than impatience or judgment. I thought I had to be part of a community, but really, I had to learn that the community could be a part of us, as we are. I know this experience is not accessible or even wanted for every family raising a child with a disability. But I didn't imagine this was possible when he was 4 or 10, or even in the weeks and days before his bar mitzvah. We took a risk. So to the families with children with learning differences, take the risk. Be your own role model. Ask for what you need, even if you're just guessing. So many folks at CBE are here to support you. My son recently was assigned an identity project at school. The 4 slides are Minecraft, Lego, and autism and Judaism. I don't know what his future holds, but these factors that have historically marginalized kids like him don't impact him the same way. They make him grounded and confident. But as I said, I am a Jewish mother, and I know my son is perfect just the way he is.
Yasher Koach. I will invite forward Karen Vaughn.
When I joined CBE 15 years ago, I found a lovely, welcoming space. However, I have Parkinson's. My tremors are not as obvious as they might have been because I also had a deep brain stimulator implanted, which gives me a little box, gives me wires, and a cowlick that makes me look like a Cupid doll. As the symptoms worsened, I had to withdraw from spaces above and below the first floor. I've fallen twice, once in the formerly narrow space by the bima across the street, and once in the main Garfield entrance. The bima situation was resolved within a few months, but the Garfield entrance remains problematic. I'm going to talk a little more about practical things we can do for people today. We have a steel ramp that can be placed over the steps that go into the house across the street, but it's not used in favor of the men who work there manually answering the door, picking up our walkers, and letting us in. It makes me wonder how I'll fare with an electric wheelchair, which would increase my ability to get around, but would be really hard on their backs. CBE is badly in need of an elevator. I have volunteered to work on such a project, and that still holds. I had to give up swimming as a physical activity because the CBE stairs are dangerous for me. Less urgent for me, but a real issue for a former member is the lack of steps to get into the pool. She had to be helped out by other people because she couldn't get out herself. She'd offered to pay for them, but couldn't get a response to her offer. As an herbalist who loves plants and loves to teach children about plants, I'd like us to open a rooftop garden like at JCC or Kane Street. In that case, a full-scale elevator would be needed. I put together a garden with children Old First some 15 years ago. An elevator would also open the floors to the assistant rabbi's office. I should mention that my oldest son, was here over 36 years ago, and he met on the top floor, on the 5th floor, and the kids had to walk up, or their parents had to take them up. We at least don't have that anymore. We used to have a few chairs in the social hall, which helps when I or some of the older members had to sit. The couches are impossible to get out of. Anyone who has not tried sitting in them can check that out. It makes it difficult to socialize during Kiddush. I'd like to see the couch and chairs replaced by something higher and more upright. And for small groups that include people with disabilities, it would be helpful to have a few armchairs provided for both small and large groups so that we can enter and exit ourselves. Physical issues aside, members of the congregation have been very helpful to me, walking me home, ensuring my walker gets up the stoop where it's locked up. And while I sometimes feel invisible when I'd like to speak in small groups, I may speak more slowly, but I have things to say. Overall, I have to say I feel welcome here, both in Park Slope and at CBE.
Yeshikach, beautiful. And finally, Lois Ellison. Oh, I got you.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for coming and thank you for having this service. How to speak of the core of disability and be at all concise. The first response that comes to mind is to address the obstacle in the path, which in a degenerative condition takes many ever inventive and unexpected forms. The rash of daily indignities popping up among the larger losses and griefs, all of these being a further subtraction from normal life, yet another step back into where exactly? Others respond to these obstacles as problems to be solved. But I've learned when to move on from that understandable and protective stance. Complications are most often invisible. There's not always a magic pill or an Uber that can take me there, or something to buy to replace or fix what's functionally now missing. And ultimately, is the totality of one's life a problem to be solved? Sometimes one stands outside a circle and knows the only possible choice is to find yet another circle to turn to. Years ago, I saw the play Happy Days by Beckett. A just past middle-aged woman is buried up to her waist in sand, still brushing her teeth, putting on lipstick from her handbag, a pretty hat, as if she's still part of the general mix, yet talking in a flow to which no one responds. That pretense is lost when she's then buried up to her neck and can only use her voice to call out for anyone to recognize her still human presence, embedded in the spark between attention, attraction, and connection. When I read the review in the New York Times, I thought, did they understand Beckett's staging is not just a surreal metaphor, but an actual depiction of lived disability, of that where I hopefully only momentarily also step into. Though I knew the reviewer's husband, I never emailed to ask him if I could ask. Thank you.
Yasher koach. That was beautiful. I'll invite back Cantor Breitzer, Serena Krombach, and Mary Beth Bacha to share just some excerpts of those who wanted to write in anonymously, those who had something to tell us. It's important that you know that we can hear hard truths, and so we'll share some of those too. But as we do, as we make our way, I just want to be so appreciative of all of those who have shared here tonight already. Just think, like, is there something you heard that's going to stick with you forever? There is for me.
Even close up, I have trouble hearing our clergy as they lower their voices at times for emphasis. Please review the current audio and amplifier and upgrade it as necessary. And it would help me if there were railings on the stairs and on the walkway to the bima.
I was born with the neurological condition hydrocephalus. I sometimes have blockages that cause headaches, which can lead to a need for immediate brain surgery. These blockages are painful and frightening. I also have some physical asymmetry, poor balance, monocular vision, and a lack of depth perception. What I have the most difficulty with day to day is regulating my emotions and interacting with other people. I have some trouble reading nonverbal cues. I can also have outsized reactions to small problems. In my view, socio-emotional challenges are particularly hard to manage because they so often affect other people and are harder than my physical issues to label and explain. I can say this: compassion from the people around me is the accommodation I need at CBE or anywhere.
My mom uses a walker, and I had a very hard time using the bathrooms in the CBE Temple House. At my kid's bar mitzvah, I had to go into the stall with her to make sure she could balance, turn around, and then get off the toilet. Not very dignified. The changes I'd like to see are that the bathrooms in the Temple House need to be renovated, and we need an elevator.
I had a traumatic brain injury resulting in damage to the frontal right lobe and damage to vision, which makes it harder to control emotion and causes migraines. The eye symptoms become worse when I'm extremely tired and I still have sensitivity to light. I have PTSD, and it is inconsistent when it pops up. In many ways, I have an invisible disability and seem fine, so that's really hard at the same time. It allows me the chance to be normal, but I feel like I'm hiding something. I'd like check-ins every once in a while, even with an email or a phone call, and mindfulness about lighting.
As a parent of a neurodivergent kid, I've really questioned if CBE is the place for our family. While we had a rough experience at CBE camp, which didn't have the supports in place to help my kid be successful in the environment, we've had a lovely experience with Yachad so far. But it was pretty heartbreaking to watch him cry about not being able to go back to camp. It stings a little to have a statement about how everyone is welcome read out loud at services, but not really feel it in our day-to-day experience at CBE. For our family, I would love it if there was some kind of quieter alternative to the regular Shabbat family services. We felt supported by the Yachad staff, and particularly Shana, who's our learning specialist. But it's difficult to keep behaviors in check during Gan Shabbat services, and I often feel judged by other families who likely don't have as much of a window into what it might be like to have a kid that just can't sit quietly and listen to service.
My husband has had hearing problems for many years. Although he can hear the services in the chapel, his hearing aids do not help at all in the space where Jewish happy hour and other gatherings are held because of the large amount of background noise as a result of acoustical problems in that room. So he doesn't go very often, which means that he doesn't go to services either.
Speaking about her husband, she said, "He can't walk up a single step without support. Stairs are a challenge without a rail. One problem is entering the temple house. There is no sturdy rail to hold onto when walking up the 2 steps into the building. He has to grab onto the side of the building. It's not very secure. He appreciates the elevator to the main sanctuary."
I have been diagnosed with adjustment disorder stemming from my service during the Cold War. As a result of AD, I am prescribed an antidepressant, which I take daily. Possibly connected with AD, I have numerous neuromuscular impairments for which I receive chronic pain treatments in my lower spine quarterly. It would make a difference for me if the handrails on the front steps were closer together.
Let's breathe. That is so much story. That is so many lived experiences. That is so much life and obstacle and courage and truth. And with every story, it helps us remember that we've all got one, and that all we have to do is know them so we could love each other and make space for each other a little more and do what we can to build this place to be the holy place we know it can be, that it is. So I just want to end by saying a great big thank you to everybody who wrote in, to everybody who has listened, to everybody who has shed a tear or smile with someone who had the courage to speak tonight, for everybody who wrote in anonymously. You are amazing. Your stories change us. They do and they will. I want to thank Mary Beth Bacha, our Director of Member Services and Engagement, for this, all of your work on this evening, and also for running the Ready team to help us continue to learn more what our community needs in all of our diversity. With great gratitude to Serena Krombach, our member, and to Debbie Bruckman, our member and leader of Great Music and Small Children, for all of the effort that you both have put into this night. It's unreal, the commitment and the love that you've added. And with great gratitude to Cantor Breitzer, always for your enormous heart in these ways. We have done some things. There are lists. We'll send them to you. There are things that you've heard tonight, that we've heard, that are going to take us a lot longer. We will get there. We will get there together. There are ways to be involved going forward. There's an existing neurodiversity small group where you could talk to Rabbi Jason Gitlin, maybe form a new small group. Respond when Mary Beth and her team reach out to you for participation. Talk to a clergy person. Talk to each other. Work with Shana and Yachad. Keep telling us how to make this place most accessible to you, because we all belong here in this spiritual life. Chag Ladonai Lanu. It is all of ours. So Nelech. Let's go. And Shabbat Shalom.
Floating around the pews. If you need one, just raise your empty hand, and Anna in the back can come bring you one. It's a special song. It seems like it was written for tonight, but it actually wasn't. Here I am, just as I am. One voice in this song that we all sing where we belong. We don't always know which way to go, and we may roam, but we come home. This I know, you have always belonged here. You have always belonged right here. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha. Return us to you, to ourselves, and all that's true. Oh, the winds of time have blown, and we have grown, but we still know we're not alone. You have always belonged here. You have always belonged right here. Ki beiti beit tefillah yikareh lechol ha'amim. This house shall be a house of prayer for all. The light you bring. You have always belonged here. You have always belonged right here. You have always belonged here, and you will always belong right here. Invite you, if you're able to, please rise in body or spirit. Return to page 586. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. The middle of 590. כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי עד תמלוך בכבוד ככתוב
Before we move to our concluding prayer of Kaddish Yatom, it is my honor to invite forward Esther Bigler, member of our Board of Trustees, who has done work in the field of disability inclusion for much of her life. And we're so grateful for what you've done here in this work.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. To everyone, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to CBE if you're new to CBE. Here at CBE, we have members who themselves or families have come from all over the world, from Argentina to Vietnam, to Korea to Syria, Morocco to Trinidad, Japan to South Africa, Kenya to Mexico, Ghana to the Philippines, Jamaica to Brazil. Thailand to Uruguay, Alabama to Saskatchewan, Chile, China, Colombia, Egypt, El Salvador, Ethiopia, India, Indonesia, Iran, Iraq, Israel, and even someplace else, if some of you would like to shout out where you've come from. Pennsylvania. Anybody else? The Bronx. Me too, the Bronx. the only part of New York City that is attached to continental United States. Anybody else? Okay. Michigan, okay. We do not have one kind of look. Some of us are differently abled. Some of us see differently, walk differently, hear differently, speak differently, but we're all here together. We do not have one name. We do not have one race. We have myriad of cultures. You may meet a white Ashkenazi like me, or a Sephardic Jew, a black Jew, an Asian Jew, a Latino Jew, an Arab Jew, and no matter what we look like, we all know a lot about Judaism, or a little. We all belong here. And we include a lot of people who aren't Jewish, and that's really important because we want to be inclusive to everyone. We also have a broad range of perspectives. The only thing that one can assume and should assume about our beloved CBE, that every single person you meet at CBE longs here exactly as much as I do and you do, no matter how we walk into this sanctuary. I want to say a heartfelt thanks to Rabbi Stephanie Colin and Cantor Joss Breischer, who led us today in such a beautiful, beautiful service. And to the staff who made this run so smoothly, Anna Solomon, Kimberly Lisa, supporting in person, and Gabby Saravinsky, providing audio and online support. I want to say a special thank you to the members who came forward tonight, who shared their stories and their pain and their needs with us tonight, for reminding all of us that we each can make CBE a welcoming place, and reminding us that there is a lot more for CBE to do to make this inclusive, and I like that word if other people don't. A special note before I finish of professional and personal privilege. I want to say a special thank you to Nate Jaffe and Molly Silverberg, who both responded to my special need for a reasonable accommodation because of my learning disabilities and reading issues, to get these pages early so that I could do this tonight. And now for my announcements. On Thursday, February 13th, CBE is proud to co-sponsor a multi-generational Tu B'Shvat celebration at Brooklyn Heights Synagogue, including dinner, crafts, and live music by Israeli musicians Iran Fink, Suf Sela, and Shahari Regiv. And I hope I pronounced those names correctly. Check your CBE this week for email for more information. Save the date of Friday, February 21st for Reproductive Justice Shabbat. We will be joined by Dana Sussman, CBE member and Senior Vice President of Pregnancy Justice, as our guest speaker. More details to come. And I just want to say Shabbat Shalom to every single person here, and I hope that many of you will be joining us for Motzi, Kiddush, and the dinner downstairs. Thank you so much.
Shukach.
As we move towards our conclusion, we turn towards memory. And in a moment, we will be on page 598 with Kaddish Yatom, as we bring into this space the lives and legacies of those that we have loved and those that we have lost. If this is the first week of your loss, we want to invite you to rise and share the name of who you're remembering. If If this is the first month of your loss, we invite you to rise and share their name. If this is the first year of your loss, we invite you to rise, share their name. And if you're here to observe a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a death, we invite you to rise and share their name. We now rise to surround you in comfort as we add these names from our community in their period of Shloshim. Jerry Schicker, father of Jackie Schicker Taubman, and father-in-law of Greg Schicker Taubman, and Liza Abramson, the niece of David Abrahamson and Carol Zimmerman. And on their yahrzeit, we remember Lily, Levy, Aaron, Fanny, Barr, David Barron, Aaron Beckenstein, Sarah Becker, Jean Bigler Rockman, Joseph Bloom, Frida Simberg, William Cowan, Frederick S. David, Herman Feinstein, Edith Fine, Max Feiertag, Charles Frank, Robert Frey, Anna Gartenberg, Isidore Green, Harold Green, Rhoda Jaffin, Minnie Kahn, Alan Katzman, Susan Kaiser, Baruch Kirschenbaum, Dr. Mortimer Lefkowitz, Joseph Liebner, Irving Levine, Ida Leventhal, Robert Levitt, Norman Levy, Wolf Lifshutz, Tibor Lowenbein, Salomon Lowenstein, Ida Lubell, Zeulan Mirilashvili, Elijah Perlberg, Helen Peters, Annie Rockmore, Sidney Roth, Jean Rubain, Dorothy Rubin, David Sarfati, Larry Shukin, Bessie Schwartz, Tilly Schwartz, Samuel Shebitz, Frank Solomon, Philip Tesser, Paul Wolf, Annie Waranak. May their memories be a blessing. Page 598. We join in. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bi'alma divorach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen.
Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'le'alamei alamayai.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudasha
B'richu.
Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
May the one who creates peace on high bring comfort to all who are aggrieved. We say together.
Amen. Page 627, we close with a special setting of Shalom Aleichem, our people's historic text of welcome and inclusion to everyone. The special setting by great modern champion of inclusivity and acceptance and awareness, Debbie Friedman of blessed memory. Page 627. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Can we invite you all to please come forward if you're able? Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. We come together. Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei הקדוש ברוך הוא, ברכוני לשלום, ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שלום, let's hear it, שלום עליכם, שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. And Debbie changed the last verse of this psalm instead of Seitchem Shalom, she says Shuvachem Shalom. Don't just depart in peace, but please return in peace. Shuvachem Shalom. Let's try together. Shuvachem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just your voices. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Before we continue with Kiddush, we're invited to pass them out. We have to have one more radical moment of acceptance and awareness and celebration for Rabbi Colin on her birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Rabbi Colin. Happy birthday to you. Mazel tov, Shabbat Shalom. Please come get some grape juice. We're going to make Kiddush now. Because of the time, I will start, and as soon as you get your cup, you can join me. Yom HaShishi, v'aycholu hashamayim v'aretz v'chol tzevaham, v'aychal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, v'yishbot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa, v'yivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i v'ykadesh oto ki vo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot savri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagaf. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabat kodsho v'yavav ratzon inchilanu, zikaron lemaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zeicher yitziat mitzrayim, kivanu v'achata, ve'otanu kiddashta, mikol amim, v'shabat kodshecha, ve'ava u'veratzon inchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, v'kadesh haShabbat. After we make motzi, dinner continues in the rotunda downstairs, accessible via the stairs or the elevator. If you haven't registered, speak with one of our CBE colleagues who I'm sure can help you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom.